Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. That was bad timing on the intro song there, but you'll live. What's up, friends? It's Whoop Wednesday. I'm gonna teach you guys how to rip balls inside the house tonight. A whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of things that you can do that will make it easier, make it more realistic, and allow you to have more fun. And but look, don't say I didn't warn you. You do all these things, you're not gonna fly outside anymore. If you're anything like me, you're not gonna really fly outside all that much because you're gonna be having so much fun inside the house. But look, it's whoop season, and so who the hell wants to go outside and fly in the 17-degree weather? Not to mention that the props explode, just the durability generally goes to hell of these things. The batteries just hate the cold. And so, yeah, when it gets super cold, fly inside the house. And I'm going to help you do that. TinyWhooping has drastically changed over the last, let's say, like 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years ago, TinyWhooping, especially inside the house, was forward, backward, left, and right. It was a glorified RC car. And that was fun for a while. Obviously, you could control your elevation, but it wasn't three-dimensional in the same way that flying outside is. And it would kind of get old. And it just, there was not nearly as much depth to the flying as when you would go outside and blast around a 5-inch or 3-inch or whatever. Boy, has that changed. And inside the house, you can do damn near everything that you can outside. And so take advantage of that. And it's unbelievable practice. TinyWhooping thousands and thousands and thousands of batteries over the past few years has improved me as a pilot big time. Ra FPV, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Ra says, what's the best motor for speed on an 85mm whoop? Man, I am unfortunately the worst possible person to ask. I've never had an 85mm whoop. But what I can tell you is that if speed is what you're going for, RPM is what you're looking for. So you want the highest possible KV motor that you can get that's also big enough to push the propeller, basically. My guess in terms of 85mm whoops are going to be that the minimum motor size you're going to want is like 1102. Ideally, I think you're going to want an 1103 or a 1202 or a 1203 or something like that. But you mentioned speed, and speed comes from pushing the air as quickly as possible. If you look at like the really high speed rigs, they're not 10-inch, they're 5-inch, and they're mega KV. Right, you can send a big wall of air down, and that will produce a lot of thrust, and that will pick up a huge payload. Or you can send a smaller area of thrust down at a higher speed, and you can actually make the same amount of thrust, but that higher speed is going to allow the rig to travel faster. So like the Red Bull F1 car chasing rig. It wasn't a 7-inch, it wasn't a 10-inch, it was a 5-inch with mega KV. The new, well, not new, but the AOS, high speed setup, it's a 5-inch, it's not a 7-inch, it's not a 10-inch, right? And so, yeah, you want KV. It's going to be all about KV, but the motor has to be big enough to have enough power to spin the prop up to that higher RPM, right? So that's where I'm thinking that 1102 is really going to be the smallest that you want to go. If not 1103, 1202, 1203, something like that. Thank you for the support, my friend. Curtis Hayes was first in the chat. Jacob Williamson, Craig Meyer, Cheatonian, Notice, Raise FPV, LOL the Kiddison, Craig Meyer again, Douglas 6, Islander FPV, Cheatonian, Zip, Hendrix Freakazoid, McMucus, Render, JMP FPV, Frank Nicholas. I'm going to leave it there. If you want me to say your name, you got to get in early, or you can just type CiottiFPV and ask me a question, and then I'll read your question. Make sure you type CiottiFPV in your comment, though. That'll light up an orange for me. You can do that with each other. If you want to get Notice's attention, type the word Notice into your chat. On a previous live stream, I commented that the word Notice, it's just a regular word. And I was like, yo, Notice. How often do you see your name get lit up in orange when people just happen to have typed the word Notice into their chat comment? And then you absolute jerks started typing Notice into all of your chat comments. And for that, I love you all. Thank you for understanding the assignment, my friends. So yeah, you can get each other's attention. If you want to talk to somebody, just type their name, get the spaces in the right places. You don't have to do the capitalization right, but yeah. So you can do that for me. Those are the only chat comments that I read. I plan stuff out to do in these live streams, so this is not a live stream where I just kind of like sit here and read through every single chat message. There are folks that do that, and that's super cool, and I love that. I choose to do something a little bit different. There's no right answers. There's no right or wrong way to stream. You do you, my friends. Craig Meyer tagged me and said, it's gangly FPV time. Indeed it is. McBucas says, I already had my vasectomy, thanks. In reference to ripping balls. Brent Anderson says, rip zip tang, cheers, CiottiFPV. Raze says, sent you PayPal last night. Thank you, dude. I believe that's for for one of the 2 pin vices that I have. The other one is for Frank Nicholas, but I do have a bunch more pin vices on the way. They will be up on Etsy at some point here. Speaking of Etsy, if you like these live streams and would like to see them continue, this is a completely crowdfunded thing that I've got going here. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com, and there's a million ways that you can support me. Patreon helps me the most. You can join for as little as $3 a day. That's like 7.5 cents per hour of live streaming that I do. You can't tell me that that's not worth, that this next hour is not worth 7.5 cents. You also can't tell me that I haven't kept you from buying something because I've told you that it sucks. And so hook a brother up. I saved you some money. Give me some of it. Here's the link to Etsy. I've put a ton of new stuff up there. You're going to love my nuts. Do me a favor, when you buy some stuff, buy a sticker as well. Help me move some of these stickers along. And then stick the sticker on stuff and then take a picture and I'll put it on my Instagram and people will find you and you'll make some new friends and you'll live a better life. Just because you spent a few dollars on my sticker. Fiverr's got a bunch of ways that you can learn a lot. Teespring has some fun shirts and other apparel. PayPal if you want to support me directly but you don't want YouTube to take 30% of your super chat. And then all these affiliate links. Free money, my friends. Use affiliate links every single time you buy something on the internet. Some content creator somewhere has an affiliate link to the website that you're about to check out from. My favorite thing to do is I've replaced all my bookmarks with affiliate links so that I don't have to remember. If you don't use bookmarks and you just type the beginning of a URL into the URL bar, you can like do that. Type AMA for Amazon, for example, and you can remove the current suggestion that's there. And then all you got to do is hit my affiliate link a couple times in a row, and every time you type AMA from then on, your browser will think that you want to go to my affiliate link. I know that takes a little bit of time, but do one every single live stream. If you've done a couple already, keep working down the list. Do beta FPV tonight. Change your beta FPV URL bar suggestion to my affiliate link. That's how you support me, friends. If you keep supporting me, I'll keep doing this, and we'll keep learning together. Alley Cat says, random question, did you make your intro song? I didn't. I found a guy on Instagram that had a bunch of beats, and I was super into one of them. I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, yo, how much to buy a bunch of your beats off you? I want to use them on my live streams. And he said, yo, I haven't made those beats in many years. I'll just send them to you. I work in finance now. I don't need your goddamn money. And I was like, oh, perfect. So yeah, I got a little folder of, the folder is called Atlanta, believe it or not. I don't know why. I think he's from here though, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's how I got it. Curtis Hayes says, oh God. I'm not going to read that one. Render says, I can't stop flying outside here in California. It's always a sunny day. It is so cold here in fucking Georgia. I did not move 800 miles south from New Jersey to deal with snow and 17-degree temperatures. This is bullshit. Frank Nicholas says, in Indiana, wind chill has been negative 10 Fahrenheit for a few days this week. Even, good Lord, even during some days. That's just awful. That's why I moved out of New Jersey. One of the reasons. I hate the cold. I absolutely hate it. And it's cold for like 4 or 5 months out of the year in New Jersey. Oh boy, it drove me insane. Brent Anderson says, use those 4-blade bullnose purple blades on 85 Speedy Speed. I don't know what props you're referring to. CMYK is in the house. He says, what's up, gang of the gang? What else is happening in chat? I spit all over the place. I get a fucking mop for that. That was crazy. FPV Freedom UK. Don't put a space between Ciotti and FPV. It didn't light up in orange, but I just happened to see it because it was right below CMYK's message. FPV Freedom UK says, I've got some 1406 3600 kV motors. What size drone frame should they go on? They should go on Facebook Marketplace so that somebody else can deal with those overheating ass motors. 1406 is very close to a ratio of 2 to 1, which is just kind of a bad ratio for a motor. That's the wider the motor is, the more of the motor bell is in the airflow coming down from the props. You want your motors to stay cool. When a motor heats up, the magnets become less magnetic, and so you lose power and you lose efficiency. And so a motor like a 1406 or a 1407 or a 1507, that's a motor that's not wide enough and it's too tall. The tallness of the motor produces a lot of power. So a 1406 is going to make a lot of power, but it's not going to stay cool. So what that motor is going to do is, like, every time you go full throttle, you're literally going to hear it. It's going to wind up to a really high RPM, and it's going to beat the hell out of your battery. And then you're going to hear it go like as it overheats. In the process of overheating, it's hammering your battery just as hard. And so motors like 1406, 1407, 1507, they are just going to massacre your batteries. And so you're going to be ruining batteries and having to rebuy batteries all the time. And then you're going to have a completely inconsistent flight experience. Every time that you give it a bunch of throttle, it's going to overheat. And then if you, like, give it a bunch of throttle and then come off and then give it a bunch of throttle again, that second time that you give it a bunch of throttle, you're not going to have much power. And so you're going to have a motor that every time you push it hard, it gets too hot and it loses power. And so it leads to, like, a really difficult flying experience, because every time you go full throttle, you get a different amount of power. And that's a great way to get, like, really frustrated, because, like, you know, as you get better, it becomes really important that the consistency becomes really important, because as you get better and better, like, you'll come really low to the ground and then blip the throttle to try to keep it off the ground. Well, if the motor is overheated, you'll smash it into the ground and stuff will explode, and you'll be like, wow, I really suck as a pilot. Well, no, you just have an inconsistent drivetrain on that rig. So put those motors up onto wherever you sell FPV stuff, and get rid of them, and use the money to buy a motor that is at least 3 to 1. 3 to 1 is sort of like as tall as you want to go. Even better is 4 to 1. And then when you get into, like, Cinewhoops, where with a little 3-inch propeller, you're picking up a big fat 120, 130, 140 gram action camera, you actually want 5 to 1 or sometimes 6 to 1, so that the motor will stay cool. Cool motors are efficient and consistent. And yeah, like I said, as you get better and better and better, that becomes more and more important. So yeah, do it. Move those motors along. Also, those motors are almost certainly a 2mm motor shaft, which is going to be unbelievably fragile, especially with them being 6mm tall. That motor is very tall. That's a big, long lever. And so when you crash, inevitably, inverted, and hit the top of that motor on the ground, it's going to bend the shit out of that 2mm motor shaft, and then those motors are ruined at that point. So move them along now before you ruin them and throw them away. Like, right now, they still have some value. If you put them onto a rig and start crashing them, very quickly you're going to destroy them. Look for motors with a 3mm motor shaft. That's really important. Craig Meyer says, actually, I've spent more since watching your streams. Well, you know. What can I say? Game Cinna says, notice my TinyWhoop flight control. He said notice. My TinyWhoop flight controller turns on normal, then starts getting super hot, then flashes red. Sounds like it's broken. Does it still work? If it still works, flight controllers get hot on TinyWhoops because they have VTXs built into them. Not really sure what the flashing red thing is all about, but yeah, our AIOs do get hot. Get it up in the air, get some airflow going, and it'll be fine. JMPFPV says, sent PayPal to avoid all the fees. Thank you, dude. Jason Price with a $10 PayPal. He says, thanks for all the info. You're certainly welcome, man. Thank you for supporting me so that I can give you the info. Give you the good stuff, man. Very cool of you. Hob-E Addict. That's a fun name. Ray's FPV says, friend sent me a video from about an hour away in Florida. Somehow it was 70 degrees outside and snowing. He even had a thermostat in the video, thermometer in the video to prove it. That's ridiculous. Yeah, my parents are on their Florida leg of the Yankees go south for the winter, and there's a bunch of snow. I forget where they are, but there's like a whole bunch of snow. It's just, this is climate change, my friends. It's not just the Earth heating up, it's the climate becoming way more extreme. So we're going to get hotter summers, and we're going to get more insane winters. This is what happens when you dump shitloads of CO2 and all kinds of other shit into the atmosphere. But it'll be fine, The Earth won't melt down to nothing in our lifespan, in our lifetime. So who cares? What about our kids? Fuck them. That's their problem. Let's just burn it all to the ground. Obi Perez says, I ordered some motors from your Etsy, but everything is delayed because snow. Yeah. I have a bunch of orders piled up in Etsy that I'm not even bothering to package because the mailman has not come in 3 days. So I'm hoping that he'll come tomorrow. And so the plan is to get everything packed up from Etsy and out the door. Although, if it snowed last week too, and so stuff that shipped out last week might not even have gotten to you guys yet. But yeah, regardless, it'll get to you eventually. Look, you'll forget that you ordered it, and then it'll be like a magical little surprise, an unknown amount of time from now. Brand Anderson says, GemFan 2035 props. 2035. I think I remember those. Man, it's been a long time. Render says, hey, what do you think of 2004 2400 kV on 6S for 3-inch Cinewhoop? Not sure the all-up weight, but says a Cinesplorer or Cinebot 30. First thing I'm going to say is that 6S is unnecessary for anything up smaller than a 5-inch rig. It's much harder on the little tiny ESCs. You can't get batteries that are as light as with 4S. And so if you don't already have those motors, don't buy those. Get a 4S equivalent, which is going to be like 3600 kV, even up to like 4000 kV. Yeah, zero benefit to doing 6S. And there's actually quite a few negatives to running 6S on a 3-inch rig, even if it's a Cinewhoop. So that's my first thought. Other than that, 2004 is a great motor size for a 3-inch Cinewhoop. That's what I run on pretty much all my Cinewhoops. I mean, technically, the main one that I fly is a 2104. If there was a 2004 version of this motor available, I would have gotten it. This is the FPV cycle motor that Bob did a special KV for me / us. And so, yeah, 2004 is a great size. I actually don't know if 2400 kV, but I can just use a calculator real quick. Hold on. So if we do 2400 times 1... Oh, nope. How do I do that? Yeah, times 1.5. That's the equivalent of 3600 kV motors on 4S, which is right. So yeah, 2400 kV, that's the right kV. But if possible, don't do 6S on micros. It just causes issues. And you're not going to be able to get ultra lightweight batteries because as the MAH of the individual pouches gets lower and lower and lower, the batteries perform worse and worse and worse. So even though on really high amp draw setups like 5-inch freestyle rigs, 6S gives you some extra efficiency and some extra performance, on micros, you don't need you need your batteries to be fairly lightweight. And so, for example, on like a 4S Cinewhoop, you can run a 4S 850 mAh battery. Super lightweight, and it performs amazing because each of the 4 850 mAh pouches perform really well. The higher the MAH up to a point in each pouch, the better that battery performs. When you drop down to 650, 450, the performance gets worse. So even though the higher voltage gives you slightly better performance, if you have a powertrain that's drawing enough current, the batteries perform significantly worse. And it's also harder to find those smaller, lighter weight batteries. So yeah, the net effect of doing 6S on a micro is less durability, and a lot of times worse kind of just in general performance. So don't do it unless you already have those motors, then you'll be fine. It's not... If you can find an ESC that doesn't explode from 6S, then it's not that big of a difference. But 4S will always be gentler on the ESC, and you'll be able to run less expensive, lighter weight ESCs on 4S. So, if possible, bail on those motors and get a 3600 kV version of them and run it on 4S. YouTube scrolled me to the bottom. Scrolling back up to try to find my place. Cronut says, what's up? Game Cinna says, I'm pretty sure it's broken because it started smoking. Well, there you go. The problem fixed itself. Sorry, brother. Craig Meyer says, sent you an email today about your disk enclosure issues. Thank you, dude. I'm super behind on everything. It's been a rough week. With everything going on in the world, my mental health is kind of in shambles. And so, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit behind, fair warning. I'm trying my absolute best. I appreciate you guys understanding. Green Thumb says, the Earth is fine. We are not. Yeah, that's, I mean, the Earth is not fine. But we are certainly not, but the Earth is certainly not. I mean, you know, eventually we'll make it uninhabitable for ourselves, and then we'll all die off, and then it'll heal, because we are the problem, very obviously. Uriel says, let's swing Earth into a black hole. McBuca says, got my goodies from you today. Very cool. Enjoy. Craig Myers says, got the Etsy order yesterday. First envelope I've saved. Very cool. Render says, I fly mostly 4S, but I'm stuck with a handful of those motors, trying to find a decent use for them. I mean, that is a decent use for them, for sure. Here's what you do, is you buy an ESC meant for a 5-inch freestyle rig. You're going to pay a lot extra for that ESC, and it's going to be like needlessly heavy, but it's going to be an ESC that can withstand the abuse of the high-ass voltage of 6S. And so, and then someday, if you pull that thing apart, you've got an ESC that you can use on a 5-inch freestyle rig, right? That's really how to do it. That's the smaller, lighter weight ESCs that we normally don't mind the screaming. That's Florence Azalea upstairs playing video games. I don't remember what I was saying, but I was probably just going to repeat myself anyway. You know what's up. Uriel says, if we all take a drone and fix it to a 3, could we change Earth's route? We'll have to pull together same way. No. There's no air in space. Game Cinna says, does it matter where you put your motors on your flight control? Like, for example, if you buy 4 pairs of motors and you just slap them on randomly. Nope. You will have to go into the motors tab and make sure that the motors are spinning the right direction. But other than that, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Raise FPV says, do they sell adapters that could add cables to BT 2.0 or A30 batteries without them? Oh, I know what you're saying. It's just wires. You wouldn't need an adapter. Oh, I know what you're saying. So you want to take a battery like this, and then I don't know if it's actually male or female, but let's call this male. You want a female BT 2.0 with wires to another male BT 2.0. I have never seen that. You could certainly make them. You could certainly do that. Just use like 22 gauge wire. Just look up whatever the gauge of the battery wire is, and just use that same gauge of wire. yeah, I've never seen that. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to make those. Won't be too hard. It'll be annoying, but if you make them, this will save you some headaches. Oh, I don't have it out here anymore. So you're going to be dealing with male and female BT 2.0 or A30 or whatever. This also goes for XT30s. XT60s, you can usually get away with it, but whenever you're soldering to A30, BT 2.0, XT30, never, ever, ever just take that connector and try to solder wires directly to it. Take that connector, plug the other connector into it, and then solder to it. If you just try to solder directly to one of these connectors with the pins on the inside, the plastic is going to get real hot and those pins are going to shift, and then you're never going to be able to plug a battery in. Or you're going to push the pins right out of the damn thing. So whenever you're soldering to anything really that is like metal into plastic, always understand that you're going to dump a bunch of heat into that metal, and then it's going to soften up that plastic and it's going to move all over the place. This is super important with BT 2.0, A30 connectors. If you try to solder to the female ones, I don't know if it's male or female, but yeah, just always do that. Whenever you're soldering to connectors, hook up the male and the female to keep the pins centered, and then solder to them, and away you shall go. Craig Meyer says, discovered beta FPV 4-in-1 AIO with red SMC ears, only does 17 milliwatt, so can't fly my whole house. Other drones at 25 milliwatts are fine. Interesting. Red SMC ears. What the hell is that? Beta FPV 4-in-1 AIO with red SMC ears. Which one is that? CMYK says, what would you build 1204 8000 kV on? Cruiser toothpick? 3S toothpick. 3S toothpick on 8000 kV 1204s will blast. That's what the Vista pick that I built ages ago was on. 1204 RCN power 8000 kV motors, and yeah, on 3S it absolutely railed. You could probably also do like a 2-inch whoop. Don't quote me on that. 8, 16, 24. Yeah, you could probably do an 85 millimeter whoop with those motors too. Maybe. I haven't dove down the 2-inch TinyWhoop rabbit hole yet, so I could be wrong. Sam says, what 65 millimeter frame would you recommend with 2G4 flight controller? The only two 65 millimeter frames that I recommend are the Newbie Drone Cockroach V3. That's my favorite. Or the Cockroach Lite AF. That's my second favorite. Regardless of the flight controller, regardless of anything else, those are the frames for you. Jake FPV says, thoughts on the new TinyWhoop motors? Got to set in, loving the look, and they are flying great. We talked about them a couple streams ago. I mean, they look really nice, but that's all I can say. You know, until I get a set of them and actually fly them, I have absolutely no idea. I don't. I asked Jesse some questions about them, and I haven't heard back. He's a super busy guy, so I don't know if they're still being made by Happy Model. I don't know a damn thing about them. So I'm just gonna have to wait to get my hands on a set to really be able to give you guys any actual info on them. But the bell design looks cool, and I love that the motor shaft is keyed into the bell. That's really, really, really slick. But other than that, yeah. Nick Hayes says he meant ELRS instead of ears, I think. That would make sense. Beta FPV 4-in-1 AIO with red SMC ELRS. Still doesn't make sense. Ears equal ELRS. Red SMC ELRS. What does that mean? What's the... put the name of the AIO in the chat so that I can Google it. And I'll Google it. Because, yeah, I want to know which AIO that is that you're not able to fly around your whole house. That's super annoying. Render says the motors were from a 250 from Oh My God, Tommy's Motors, and I just never fly the thing anymore. I think Foxy or Reaper 45 amp AIO hanging around. Might see if it'll take the abuse. Nice. Those motors were good. They were a little fragile, but they were really good motors. They're it's probably been long enough that I can say it. They were made by RCN Power. Nick Hayes says he maybe means the red antenna. Red antenna. Oh, that no. Beta FPV didn't make a red antenna. Beta FPV only makes blue stuff. Oh, Mick Mucus says, I think he means the receiver with the red flat antenna. Yeah. So that's the old school Air 65 AIO, I think. That sucks. They sent me 2 prototypes of that, and the VTX was not great on those prototypes. And that was the first bit of feedback that I gave them. I was like, yo, this VTX needs work. And they said, we're already working on it. We know that's a problem. And then they sent me the production one, and for the majority of one battery, the VTX seemed like it was fixed and it was working fine. And then I crashed it into the dog bowl and tried to take it off, just take back off, and it died. So, yeah, that was my bad on that one. But Beta FPV, as much as I love some of their stuff, they are notorious for having VTXs that are not the greatest. And so, yeah. They sent me the Matrix, which is somewhere around here. And that's been totally fine. But yeah. I don't really know what to tell you. Crank the power up. Crank it up to 100 milliwatts. You'll be fine. Drones, Dronesen says, what do I do with 4 new BT 3.0 450s from Beta FPV? I ordered them because I forgot about the TinyWhoop 300s. Toothpick. So the BT 3.0 450 mAh batteries from Beta FPV are outrageously heavy. I have 2 of them and I won't order any more. It's insane how heavy they are. And so either sell them or build something with a bunch of power. You know what I mean? And that's what makes me think like toothpick with them. Or maybe like an 85 millimeter whoop. They're big beastly batteries, and the BT 3.0 connector is great, so they'll push really hard. 450 mAh is a battery that 450 mAh is where the individual lipo cells start to really get somewhat decent. And so those batteries will push a bunch of voltage. So you can build like a heavier rig to run on that battery. So yeah, that's what I would do with them. Craig Meyer says, sorry for incomplete info and spell. It's all good. Atreides is in the house. He says, did you see that DJI 0465? It looks super heavy, 30 grams. Yeah, a bunch of people have been doing DJI 04 1S 65 millimeter rigs. I went down that road many moons ago with Walksnail, and 04 is round about 1 gram heavier. So I'm going to do it because it won't take very much work and it'll be great for clickbait. But what I'm going to be doing whenever I can get some goggles in here, which I have something cooking on that front, thanks to some amazing members of our little crew here. What I'm going to be doing with my 04 Lite air unit is... Where the hell is it? Here it is. It's going to get driven from a Super X HD ELRS AIO that works on 1S and 2S. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it 1S first to just get it out of the way. And so we'll do the 1S setup, and then I'm going to convert it to on a 65. I'm not going to bother doing a 75 because 1S 75 millimeter rigs are just they're just not the way. 2S is the way. And so I'll do the live stream with it and, you know, fly it around a little bit. But then I'm going to convert it to 2S. I'm going to convert it to BT 3.0 and put it into a 75mm 2S rig. This is the setup that had the Walksnail on it. But the Walksnail lights keep failing on me. And so, yeah, there is a chance that I will leave it on 1S and buy another 04 Lite air unit, because at some point I'm going to do an RC drift car chasing 1S 65mm rig with 04. And so we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I'm most excited about the 04 with 2S 75 lightweight 1002. I already know how it's going to perform because this had the Walksnail light in it, and it was absolutely outrageous. And 1 extra gram is not going to matter for this powertrain setup. This has more than enough power. So it'll fly exactly like the Walksnail, like this thing did with Walksnail, which was outstanding. But it will probably be much more durable. I've got 4 blown up Walksnail Lite VTXs, which is just insane. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But, yeah, first we're going 1S with it, just to get them clicks, bro, because the more clicks you get, the better of a human being you are on Earth, right? No? It doesn't matter at all? That tracks. Obi Perez says, could I use the Walksnail HD Pro camera on the Avatar HD Mini Lite VTX instead of the one it comes with? I'm looking for better low light performance. You can indeed. One of the cool things about Walksnail is, like, it's all mix and matchable. Other than, like, the Moonlight stuff. The Moonlight stuff is not mix and matchable, but, like, the Walksnail Lite camera will work with the bigger, heavier VTXs. V1 works with V2, stuff like that. It's really, really cool. Nick Hayes says, the Matrix 5-in-1 has a true 3-amp, 5-volt BEC on board, and will push the 04 air unit on a 1S battery down below 3 volts. Very cool. Very, very cool. Is that the new Matrix AIO or the older one? The new Matrix AIO has a big old plug header on it, so you can plug and play the 04 Lite. Drunzen says, want to buy 4 batteries? Nah, I'm stuck with 2 of those batteries. I don't need any more. Nick Hayes says, the 5-volt Beck has to push a true 3 amps, though. Apparently vbatFPV is the only one that has an AIO that pushes the full 3 amps for the 04 Lite to run good. Really? That's super annoying. Because it's set, the 04 air unit says that it only needs, I think it's like 1.2 or 1.3 amps. That's extra annoying. Well, I'm going to try this Happy Model AIO because it's here. Timon sent this to me, and it's just been sitting here. And so I'm going to try it regardless, and we'll have another data point as to which AIOs will and won't work well with the 04 air unit. All that being said, 1S, combining 1S with the 04 air unit Lite is kind of silly. The runtimes are going to suck. The flight performance is going to suck. Build it 2S, and then you don't have to deal with any of that nonsense. A 8 or 9 gram payload is way too much for 1S. It doesn't matter if that's on a 65mm rig, a 75mm rig. You're actually going to be better off with it on a 65mm rig because it's going to keep the weight down. So each amount of voltage, 1S, 2S, 3S, 4S, right, has a certain amount of weight that it's going to be able to handle. It doesn't matter how big you make the propellers on it. Bigger propellers are going to require bigger motors, which is going to add more weight. And so an 8 or 9 gram payload, very weirdly, You actually want to go down in prop size to 65 millimeter to get the best mix of flight performance and runtime. We've spent about 2 years learning that here in these live streams. There are literally hundreds of live streams looking at every single possible combination of an 8-gram payload with 1S, 65 millimeter, loads of different motor and prop and frame options, and then 75 millimeter. And the 65 millimeter rigs fly better. I wasted a lot of time swearing that 75 millimeters was going to be the way, because with a 75 millimeter build, the frame has a wider battery bay, and so you can put a bigger battery in it, a 450, a 550 mAh. But in the end, 1S is just not enough voltage to carry that much extra weight. You hit this point of diminishing returns very quickly on the 1S 75 millimeter rigs. The frame is bigger, the motors have to be bigger, the props are bigger and heavier, and it just really hammers the hell out of 1S, and you end up with batteries that get obnoxiously hot. That hurts the batteries. Now you're damaging your batteries all over the place. It was a super interesting experiment, and nobody can say that I didn't try hard enough. I've tried at least 80% of the motors that exist that would make any sense. And in the end, you can either have a motor that makes enough power, but the runtime sucks and it just annihilates your batteries, or you can have motors that don't make enough power, that don't destroy your batteries, and you get half decent runtime. There was nowhere that you could get both of those things other than 2S. You go to 2S and all those problems go away, which is, we went through that in the 5-inch freestyle world. 5-6 years ago, we wanted more power. And 4S was just not quite enough voltage for it. We went up to 6S and we got more power and more runtime. Same exact thing with 1S to 2S, but it's even more drastic. 4S to 6S is only a 50% increase. 1S to 2S is doubling the voltage. And so you get a ton more efficiency and a ton more power, and you barely gain any weight. Because in order to get any runtime out of 1S, you got to go all the way up to like a 450 or a 550 mAh battery. We've got these amazing TinyWhoop 2S 300 mAh batteries available to us that just it's the way. 2S is the way, my friends. Dronzen says, I'm about to use Happy Model F411 20 amp for this 2S Walksnail build. Any tips? I don't know that AIO, so unfortunately I got no tips for you. Sorry, brother. I'm not familiar with that one. Nick Hayes says, the new ones, yes. I'm not sure about the old one. What are we talking about here? Oh, the beta FPV AIO. Okay, so the new... Oh, yeah, right. The new beta FPV Matrix AIO with the plug header on it. Yeah, they have that in the all over the specs. 3 amp. Very cool. I'm very tempted to buy one of those, but it's 1S only, and I'm probably going to end up... See, here's the thing. I'm almost certainly going to end up buying one at some point for the 04 RC drift car chasing build. I don't really need to do that build right now because the place with the RC drift car track has not reopened yet. So I can kind of drag my feet a little bit. Render says, I can confirm that 4S vbat will not destroy your 04 Lite if you happen to not notice that you're... This motherfucker even capitalized the N in notice. You guys are shitheads. And I am fucking here for it. If you do not notice, if you happen to not notice that your HD plug on your flight controller has vbat, not 9 volt, how long was it plugged in? Was it like, oh god, or although, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like, electricity is so quick that if it was going to blow up, it would. Well, that's not true. When I put 2S through that newbie drone AIO, it was fine for a few seconds, and then it caught on fire. How long do you have it plugged in? Max G says 2S 75mm sounds perfect for 04, but still no 300 mAh 2S BT3. Yeah, you got the last ones, LOL. I didn't get the last ones. I only got 4 of the damn things, and they were in stock after me. It was one of you guys. I told you, I started talking about how great those batteries were, and all of a sudden they were gone. So don't you put that evil on me. They did go out of stock immediately after I started telling all of you guys that they were the shit. So it's my fault, but it wasn't directly me. Dave S says, is 45C okay for 300 mAh 2S? The C ratings on batteries are completely worthless. They just mean nothing. The only value of a C rating on a battery is if you're comparing it to another battery from that exact same manufacturer, and even then it's pretty worthless. But if you're looking at 2 GNB batteries and one of them has a higher C rating than the other, that higher C rating battery is probably going to perform better. But if you're trying to compare a GNB battery to a Tattu battery, the C ratings mean nothing. Among many other things in FPV, the C ratings on batteries, there's zero standardization. So these manufacturers just make up a number and then put that on their battery as the C rating, and so it's a completely worthless measurement. Captain Calgary says, you get any snow like the gang in the southern states? Yeah, man. We got a bunch, actually. Our little family went out sledding last night around the neighborhood, which was super, super, super fun. All 4 of us went out. It was great. It's really hard to get both kids to do anything. It's pretty hard to get either kid to do anything, but to get them both to do the same thing is incredibly rare. And so, yeah, last night was pretty cool. We got snow last week, and then we got snow 2 days ago? Yesterday? I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago, but yeah, we've gotten snow twice in the last week. Wild. It can stop now. Render says, at least 2 minutes while I panicked thinking I did something to it when I accidentally melted the sheath on the MIPI cable with my soldering iron. It was a long morning. Oh, God. Sounds a lot like FPV. Max G says, which 2S battery would you recommend in lieu of the TinyWhoop 2S 300s? I have no idea. There are almost no 2S BT 3.0 batteries that exist. And so, yeah. I mean, the easiest thing for you to do right now is to run to build a double BT 2.0 lead, and then just stuff 2 BT 2.0 300 mAh batteries in the damn thing. Like that. And then just figure out a way to keep them from flopping around. Just shove some foam in there or something like that. That's going to be the best thing in the interim, because like I said, I don't know of any other batteries than those tiny. I don't know of any 2S 300 mAh batteries, full stop. And so, yeah, I would do that for now. McBuka says, I've been having fun with Beta FPV 2 double BT 2.0. Yeah, a bunch of you guys have been doing it. It works totally fine. Captain Calgary says, do you normally get snow? No, almost never here in Georgia. Max Gervis says, 450 mAh 2S BT 3.0, no go. Nope, way too heavy. The TinyWhoop ones, TinyWhoop had a 2S 450 that was way lighter than the Beta FPV. but they sold out as well. So yeah, caught up on chat. Let's talk about how to rip balls inside the house with a TinyWhoop. For the crowd that just wants all the reasons all at once, and then they can turn the live stream off. Low up tilt, build with durability in mind, keep the weight as low as possible, use throttle Expo, fly the extremes, fly really low to the ground, and then blast the throttle so that you go all the way up to the ceiling. Use more Expo in your regular rates. Fly 6 batteries a day, every single day. Acro only. Make sure that your camera mounting is nice and solid and your camera is not rotating or going left and right, so that excludes the fractal frames, for example. Practice. Don't just rip balls. Like, actually spend some time practicing. Do the same thing for a whole battery. Do power loops for a whole battery, for example. Buy gates and change up where the gates are. So that you can move the gates into different places until you find a spot that the gates are like in a really good location. There you go. There's all the things. We're going to dive into them as I'm flying, and we're going to talk more about them. It's 11 o'clock. Perfect. But those are all the things that I can think of to help you be able to fly fully, like, three-dimensional, hard power loops, Matty flips, all the things that you do inside the house. Spontaneous Sportsman, if you want me to read your comment, type CiottiFPV, like you see a lot of the other guys doing. When you type someone's name, it lights up in orange for them. Great question, though. Do you have a preferred brand of gate? All the gates are pretty much the same. Weebleed, TinyWhoop, those are the two that are the most common, but there is also a GemFan gate. There is also a Newbie Drone gate. The Newbie Drone gate is kind of my least favorite. It's the smallest. It's a little bit too small. There are the GemFan gates there. These are old TinyWhoop gates that you can't get anymore. They're not quite as small as the Newbie Drone gate, but they're almost as small. Those GemFan gates, I think you can get those from GetFPV. Those are the same size as... those are, again, old TinyWhoop gates. This is the new TinyWhoop gate down here in purple on the floor. There's also 3 of them stacked up over here. This is the right-sized gate. So, yeah, and then on the other side of the room over there with the LEDs in it, that's a Weebleed gate. So, yeah, the TinyWhoop and the Weebleed gates, those are the ones to get. But there's a website that has these GemFan gates, and they're the same thing. These gates are ripstop nylon, so they're ultra lightweight, and you're not going to break anything when you smash into them, which is perfect. They kind of collapse up. You can even do the crazy, thing with them where you roll them and they become really small. They're what you want. They are amazing. They are a little pricey, admittedly, but if you fly TinyWhoops with them, you're going to have them forever, and they really are worth it. The cube gates are incredible. You hang them from the ceiling, you put them in the corner, you stack them on top of each other. They are just so nice to have. Treat yourself, yo. Flying inside the house can be incredibly fun. And so, yeah, treat yourself. If you get the Weebleed gates, do me a favor. Use my affiliate link over on CiottiFPV.com. Craig Meyer says, notice they be gone. Took me a second to notice. Oh, twice in one. Whoopi says, is it okay to fly in the house in air mode when we're in acro? It's not only okay, but it's preferred. Air mode is really important when you start flying harder, because when you go 0 throttle, it's going to keep the thing steady. Without air mode, when you start flying harder inside the house and you do like a power loop, for example, you're going to hammer the throttle, you're going to go 0 throttle. If you're at 0 throttle and air mode turns off, it's just going to it's just going to go all over the place, and you're going to have no accuracy for actually trying to hit these gates inverted. So yeah, air mode is super important. You want to turn air mode on everything all the time. There's this incredible line of bad information that persists in FPV that has, for the 8+ years that I've been in it, that TinyWhoops are better without air mode, and it's just not true. 1 in 1,000 times, you're gonna have a situation where you like come up next to a wall without any momentum, and in that one super rare situation, air mode is gonna make the thing. If this is the wall, air mode's gonna make it stick to the wall, and you're gonna have to disarm it, and it's gonna fall to the ground, and you're gonna take it back off. That is the only scenario where not running air mode is better. And that is a scenario that happens infinitely rare. Infinitely rarely. That is an infinitely rare situation. Every other situation, air mode is what you want. And you fly all of your outdoor rigs with air mode, and so you want to use air mode on everything, all the time. It's magic. Great question, dude. Max says, what about the GNB 350 mAh 2S with the PH 2.0 3-pin plug? Looks easy to convert to BT 3.0. PH 2.0 3-pin plug. Are you talking about a balance lead? Is that this battery? Is that this Emax battery? This 350 Emax? Emax uses... I'm pretty sure that Emax uses GNB to make their batteries. Or are you talking about this green GNB 350? Both of these, they're probably the exact same thing. Want to know the easiest way to myth bust that? Fucking weigh them. The fact that this says Emax on it doesn't weigh anything. 16.52, 16.79, close enough. The leads are probably slightly, yeah, see the balance lead is a little bit longer on the one. That's where the extra weight is coming from. So these batteries have a PH 2.0 connector, which is totally worthless, and then a balance lead. The balance lead, you can't just hook... Or can you? I actually don't know. I don't know if you can just hook the balance lead up to BT 3.0. I've never really looked into what the deal is with BT 3.0, but my gut tells me that you can't just hook a BT 3.0 lead up to this balance lead. I could totally be wrong, though. I don't know. Somebody in chat might know. But, yeah, you can't put a BT... I don't know how to wire up a BT 3.0 lead. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know which cell... Like, obviously, the two main plugs on the BT 3.0 lead have to have full voltage. So that would be these two wires here on this stupid PH 2.0. But then I don't know which of the balance lead wires to run to that third part of the BT 3.0 lead. So I have no idea. I don't know how to do it. I also don't know how these batteries are, because PH 2.0 cripples the performance to the point where you can't really tell what it's like. So yeah, I have a stack of 2S batteries here that I'm going to put XT30s on. But it's you know, low on the list of priorities. I've got 2 of these green GNB 350 2Ss. I've got 2 of these GNB 300 2Ss. I've got 1 of these Emax, also GNB, I'm pretty sure, 350s. I've got this old-ass Talon 300 mAh 2S. If I can figure out what the hell the deal is with BT 3.0, I guess I'll put BT 3.0 leads on these, but I haven't taken the time to really figure it out. Yin Yang says, The Yamasaur in Discord has converted the Tattu 302S to BT 3.0 instructions. Where? Where? Which, I will pin it. Which Patreon? Like patron hangout in the Patreon only part? Patreon hangout, he says. What? Ooh, is that it? Who am I looking for? Yamasaur? I will pin that shit. Oh! I think I found it. If you don't feel like waiting for a Tattu 302S, same thing, you just have to put your own BT 3.0 on. What did you do here? What did you do? What you got? Tattu 300. Ooh. Yamasaur, are you in here? Where are the, It kind of looks like he just replaced the balance lead with it. The more I think about it, the more I kind of think that you can just replace the balance lead with it. Where are the instructions? Here's links. When adapting JST 300 to cut off the JST plug, tape the ends. No, okay. Exactly, though I only cut one of the JST wires at a time. Quad 66 is in the house. What's up, homie? Hey, look at this. Yeah, so I know that this is how the balance leads work. I don't know on the BT 3.0 what that... Oh. It is. It is the balance lead. Yep, it totally is. This is it. This is it. So there's nowhere else for it to be. So it is. You just cut off the main lead and shrink wrap over the ends so that they don't, explode. And then the BT 3.0 is going to get voltage from here. It's going to get ground from here. And then that third pin on the top is going to be this balance lead. Very cool. Yeah, and so you've got it right here, and they're even all on some of these batteries. They're ooh boy, these are really short here. Yeah, all of the balance leads on all of these are obnoxiously short. I mean, you'll be able to do it, but that's going to be tough. So yeah, you're going to go. You're going to take the wire all the way off on the right, and then the wire all the way off on the left. Those are going to be your main power leads, and then the one in the middle is going to go to the extra pin, to the third pin. So all BT 3.0 is a fancy balance lead. Good to know. I had a funny feeling that might be the case, but I really try not to ever say anything. So here's another interesting thing. GNB makes these little 420 Blaze It 2S batteries that only have a balance lead. Unfortunately, it's the shortest balance lead on planet motherfucking Earth. And I don't think this... I think this battery is too fat to... Yeah, this battery doesn't fit in anything, so never mind. Don't worry about these 420 Blaze It batteries. They're worthless. The leads are too short, and the battery's too fat. Does anybody want to buy these? I bought them, and I don't want them anymore. That's what happens when people sell things, you know? They don't want them anymore. Sell them. A lot of times they've bought them. That's how they got them. Sometimes they've stolen them. I did not steal these. Well, that's pretty cool. I got to get my hands on some battery side BT 3.0 leads. So yeah, there's a couple of battery options for you. The GNB Green 2S 350s. The Emax 2S 350, which is, I'm 99% sure, the same thing. And then GNB also has 2S 300s. You're not going to be able to get one of these Talon batteries. These are long since discontinued. I mean, hell, the website that sells these is not even up anymore. But yeah, GNB makes 2S 300s and 350s. The 300s say that they're 50C. The 350 says that it's 70C. The Emax also says that it's 70C. So yeah. There you go, people. You don't have to wait for TinyWhoop to come back in stock. There's someone else that's getting BT 3.0 350 mAh batteries made, and I bet you they're these. I bet you they're going to weigh the exact same as these. Good myth busting, friends. Cheetonian says, yes, balance lead can just be soldered to BT 3.0. Just make sure you figure out which is positive, which is negative. The middle is the middle. Yeah, hopefully the way that they're... I'm assuming that inside of the balance lead, they've got the positive all the way off on the one side as the main voltage, and then the negative all the way off on the other side as the ground, and then the middle is the one that's connected to each cell. I'm assuming that. If they haven't done it that way, that would be kind of insane. But don't quote me on that, because I just don't know. But I would have to assume, I would strongly assume that that's the case. That a balance lead has voltage on one side, ground on the other side, and then the middle is the one that connects the two cells. Oh, Islander with the hot question. Will those batteries fit in the frame? Yes, they will. No, they won't. This is the 350. Are you fucking kidding me? You son of a bitch. Dylan. It fits in there. Boy, is that tight, though. See if you can find the 300 mAh batteries. That's a bit much. It might be fine. This Mobula 7 V3 frame is really strong. The 300s fit perfect. This is probably the TinyWhoop battery. The TinyWhoop 300 mAh BT 3.0 battery is probably this GNB. Now, the leads are like way longer. Yeah, it looks very, very similar. Don't look at the leads. Just look at the body of the battery. It's pretty sure it's the same. Yeah. See if you can get these GNB 300s. The 350s, they do fit, but that's a bit of a struggle. So this is the green GNB 350. Let's see if the Emax one fits any better. Oh my god, the Emax one fits way better. Buy the Emaxes. The Emax 350 is see that little catch? It wasn't on purpose. That just drops right in there. The green GNB 350s, they're like a little too wide. But you can get it in there. And it ain't coming out, but it's gonna put some stress on the frame, and it might break the Mobula 7 V3 frame. The Talon 300 is too small, actually. It wobbles around a little bit. So yeah, get you some Emax 300 2Ss. 350 mAh 2Ss, or the GNB 300s. Hey! Cheetonian says, I meant you need to know which side of the BT 3.0 plug is supposed to be positive as the connector is symmetrical vertically. It's in the plastic of the plug. It's engraved in the plastic there. There's a little tiny plus and there's a little tiny minus. And then you can just go by the color of the leads on here. Red for positive, black for negative. You guys obviously knew that. But yeah, it is marked on the plug itself. Fragdicola says, just check the voltage between the pins on the balance lead. Of course. Full voltage versus half voltage. Yep. The pair on the highest voltage is the power pair. Yep, good call. Good call. Max says, they are the same green packs you have with the long balance lead only. What's they? When you say they, Max, what do you mean by they? Render says, couldn't you power the 04 off balance instead of something heavier like they do with GoPros? Yeah. Hell, yeah. I mean, shit, you could even power them off of the PH 2.0 lead. You could leave the PH 2.0 lead on there. But, I mean, what I'm going to do on the 2S build with 04 is the same thing I did with the Walksnail leads builds, which is just run a second set of wires off the top of the vbat pads. Just that's the power leads. Just run that right up to the 04 and you're good to go. But yeah, technically speaking, you could put BT 3.0 on the balance lead and then just hook the 04 up with a PH 2.0 lead, and yeah, plug, away you go. That way you could choose. That would actually be kind of nice, because then if you're tuning the rig or something like that, you could unplug the 04 and have zero draw from the 04. You wouldn't really need to do that all that often, though. That would be a pretty niche thing, and you'd have extra weight from the extra connectors and whatnot. But totally do that. Max G says, green GNB 352S, they have a version with long balance lead only. Oh, very cool. Very cool. If it's the same size as these, it's going to be a tight fit. So, I'm going to get potentially more of the Emax 350s. It fits perfect. Whoopi says, recently got an Air 75 as my first drone. It's very zippy. Adjusted the motor output to make flying manageable indoors. Is there a difference between throttle expo versus motor output? Yes, big difference. If you're new, throttle expo might not. It might be a bit much for you, if I'm completely honest. But if you want to use throttle expo, you have to really understand it. And here's how you really understand it. Go to my channel, click the little magnifying glass here. This will just search within my channel and search for Throttle Expo. I've gone through it twice. This one's a little bit better here, Midpoint Monday. Dialing in Throttle Expo for the secret for throttle control. There's about a 45-minute chunk of this live stream. You have to watch it. If you don't understand Throttle Expo, you're going to make your situation worse. If you understand Throttle Expo, you'll make your situation better, and it's absolutely magic. I use at least a little bit of Throttle Expo on everything that I fly nowadays. It is great if you get it dialed perfectly in. If you don't have it dialed perfectly in, it will make the situation worse. So if you're not willing to truly understand it, don't use it, and just limit the power, because limiting the power does help with throttle resolution, and throttle resolution is the hardest thing in FPV. All right, let's talk more about how to rip inside the house. How to rip balls inside your own home. I'm going to talk through this stuff while I'm flying. I've got 6 batteries ready to go. You should have already flown your 6 batteries. If you haven't, maybe do it now and just listen, or maybe wait until after the live stream. The rig, by the way, the thumbnail is the first time I've used the little fog machine. I had a blast. We're going to fly a pretty low power rig. You know what? A lower... you don't want too little power. You also don't want too much. The easy button is to get really high KV motors. 36,000 KV from TinyWhoop.com or 40,000 KV from Weebleed. Both 702s. And you can motor limit them down with almost no negatives. This is on 32,000 KV motors. This is one of the lower powered rigs. Having too much power is worse than having too little. So when in doubt, motor limit too far down. But if you're going to buy motors, don't buy motors that are less than like 36,000 kV, I don't think. 32,500 is pretty damn good. You could make an argument for, a very strong argument for the Weebleed 32,500 kV motors with 1.5 mil motor shafts. Ooh, what's this? Oh, 1.4. Ugh, gross. I'm waiting for the 1.5 millimeter motor shaft HQ Ultralight props, which I think we're going to get at some point here. Here you go. Weebleed FPV 0702 32,500 kV 1.5 millimeter knurled shaft motors. These are going to be basically indestructible. One of the keys to being able to rip hard inside the house is having zero respect, zero mechanical sympathy for your build. 1 millimeter motor shafts, you will eventually bend and ruin those motors. They'll put up with a lot of abuse, but eventually you will bend them. These motors here, out of the box, have 1.5 mil motor shafts, and they're going to be basically indestructible. The better idea, as far as I'm concerned, is to get the 40,000 kV motors from Weebleed, which are down here somewhere. Come on. Come on. There they are. The 40,000 kV motors, and then you swap the bells over. Zotex sells just the, there they are, 0702 bells with the 1.5 millimeter motor shaft. It's a little fiddly, but it's doable. We've talked about it a bunch, and so that's the best option. But if you just want plug and play, these motors here, I'm about to fly. I'm about to fly 0702 32,000 kV motors, and as you'll see, I'm going to be able to do all the things. All the three-dimensional flying, the Matty flips, the power loops, the dives, all the shit, the stalls. And so, yeah, absolutely no shame in getting these 1.5 millimeter motors. Screw them down, plug them in, away you go. 1.5 mil motor shafts, we only have one set of props available right now, but luckily they're good propellers. They're the Gemfan 1210 biblades. Here they are. These are the only 31 millimeter propellers with a 1.5 millimeter motor hole in them for the 1.5 mil motor shafts. There are more on the way. There are more being made, but today, right now, these are the prop option for you. So we've talked about durability, and we've talked about power. Happy Model motors, Weebleed and TinyWhoop motors, are made by Happy Model. Happy Model motors they use a different method of measuring KV. And so when you look at a 40,000 KV Happy Model Weebleed motor, it's going to give you roughly the same amount of power as Beta FPV, VCI, Newbie Drone, RC and Power, 30,000 KV motors. All right. The Happy Model motors are the kings of durability because you can put these motor bells on that are indestructible, and the motor shaft is what fails on these motors. They're also the kings of efficiency. And so for me, I stick with the Happy Model motors. I've run lots of all the other motors, and they're totally fine, but the Happy Model motors are a little bit more efficient for the same amount of power, and then you can get these bells. They're also motors that put the propeller a little bit lower, and that works really well with my favorite frames, which are the Cockroach V3 and Cockroach Lite AF. The build that we're about to fly is a Newbie Drone Cockroach Lite AF frame, 0702 32,000 kV motors. These are the HQ old school, what I call YOLO props, which are 1.2 inches by 1.1 pitch, I believe, by 3. Old school Mobula 6 canopy, RunCam Nano 3 camera, micro V antenna, the custom ones that I have on my Etsy store with the extra long shrink wrap, but the slightly shorter wire on it, and 2G4 AIO. This build, now we're going to talk about lightweight. This build is based around durability, with top of the list of priorities, durability. Right beneath that, lightweight. This is not a super lightweight build. It is 18.1 grams, but it is light enough. If you are below 19 grams, let's say if you're below 18.5 grams, you're doing good. As long as it's durable. If it's 18 grams, it better be durable. If it's 17 grams, it's going to be a little bit less durable. If it's 16 grams, you're going to seriously sacrifice durability. And so this is one of the heavier builds that I've got, but it's one of the most durable. The only thing that I could do to make this more durable would be to go from a Lite AF frame to a Cockroach V3 frame. But the Lite AF frames are pretty damn durable. So yeah, this thing is good. Weight on the Screamers. Patrons have access to a Google Doc called CiottiFPV TinyWhoop data. One of the tabs in the bottom of it is weights, and there are like 30 or 40 different motor weights in there. Happy Model 0702s are 1.5 grams per. Regardless of the manufacturer, 0702s are all about 1.5 grams per. It varies a little bit, but 0702s are the lightest weight TinyWhoop motors. They're the ones that you want for 65mm rigs. Don't buy one manufacturer of motor because it's a fraction of a tenth of a gram lighter. It doesn't make sense. There are much more important factors in whose motors you buy than the weight savings. McBuka says, I flew 3 times using 2S. Does that count? I had a lot of fun at the Jungle Gym. Does it count for what? What do you mean? All right, so we've talked about durability. We've talked about lightweight. Low up tilt will make you fly slower. Let's get in the air, and I'll start talking about this stuff. Low up tilt will make you fly a little bit slower. Inside the house, for freestyle, if you want to really rip, you want to fly slower. Racing, obviously you're going to fly faster. But for freestyle, you want to slow the hell down. If you are just charging back and forth across the room, it's going to make everything a lot harder. The slower you go, the easier it's going to be to line gaps up. The easier it's going to be to change your momentum, change your directionality so that you can do the power loop, the Matty flip, that kind of stuff. And it's just going to make your life a lot easier. I'm going to run a bunch. I have 3 260 mAh BT 2.0 batteries charged, and I have 3 300s charged. We're going to run the 260s first. These 260 mAh BT 2.0 folded cell batteries are a great way to make your rig a little bit lighter weight. You're not going to get the same runtime, you're not going to get the same power, but a lighter weight rig is going to be more accurate. It's going to change directions a lot easier, and it's just going to you're going to notice that it goes through gates more often, literally. shit. Hold on, I gotta unplug the VRX and plug it back in. So, low up tilt. Very important. You want to be able to see your ducts. See down here how I can see the ducts in view? Sometimes you won't be able to see the ducts because some canopies will mount the camera up higher. But usually, if you're low enough if your up tilt is low enough, you'll be able to see at least a little bit of the ducts in view. And so with low up tilt, you'll fly a little bit slower. And that's what we want. Because then, when you do stuff like that, it's easier to change direction. If I'm going slow, I can more easily throw it backwards into the power loop. Versus, if I'm going really fast, try to line this up. If I'm going fast, it's so much harder. You have all that extra forward momentum. See how I didn't go back far at all? Right? And I gave it a big heap of full throttle. Versus if I'm going slow, look how much farther back it traveled, right? Oh my god, I didn't, my fingers are freezing. And so I'm not moving the sticks quickly enough. And that power loop was a perfect example of that. I didn't do... Oops. Oh, stop it. I didn't do the little pop of pitch. When you do a power loop, in my opinion, when you chop the throttle, you should give it a little stab of pitch down or pitch back so that you can see where you're going. If you don't do that, the power loop looks like this. I think it went through that gate, but there's no way of knowing because I was still looking up at the ceiling. Versus, I did a little bit too much of a hit. That's what you want to see. That way you actually see what the hell you're doing, and there's a chance if the power loop is big enough that you can bail. All right, fly the extremes is one of the other things. Look how low to the ground I'm flying. Not only does it look cool, but it gives you more space. If I'm low to the ground, I can do a big old power loop because I'm super low. And then, ideally, I can like scrape the ceiling. And it gives you more hang time. It gives you more time to let the thing sit at 0 throttle, which is really what you want, right? Like outside, we've got 11 billion miles of elevation that we can use. So you can just fucking hammer the throttle and just up into the goddamn clouds for the world's biggest power loop. Inside the house, you're very limited. Floor to ceiling is what, like 8 feet, I think? That's not a lot. 8 feet is not a lot. So you want to use 7.99 feet. You want to be on the deck, and then you want to blast it all the way up to the ceiling, and then let it sit 0 throttle as long as you possibly can. This is how you get that like outdoor, fully 3-dimensional experience inside the house. Let me get this battery off, and I'm going to put another battery on here, and I'm going to not scrape the ground. Denzel the Terrible, yeah, talking about like the definition of a power loop. I mean, to me, I use the word power loop in exchange for backflip. You know, you can define it however you want. I think technically speaking, the definition of a power loop is like you go under something and then power loop back up over it and then go back under it. In my case, you know, it's like the gates, but like as far as I'm concerned, the hanging gates, if you fly under the hanging gates and then backflip through the damn things, that's actually a lot harder than a traditional power loop. You know, sometimes I call that a Ciotti loop. The move that I'm talking about is this. See if I can get it. That you know, I sometimes will call that a Ciotti loop. It kind of makes me cringe sometimes. Like, who the hell am I? But so yeah, I think technically speaking, a power loop would be like this. It would be like going under an object and then going back under it without smashing into it. But, you know, you guys can define whatever you want. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fly up here. I'm going to fly at this height. All right? The top of these gates. And now watch what happens. I mean, one easy thing. See how much quicker that kind of was? Hold on. Try it again. First of all, you're going to hit the ceiling more often. For me, especially, because all of my timing is dialed in for flying down low. Really low to the ground. And then maximizing that throw. It's going to keep you from hitting the ceiling, straight up. If you fly lower, you're going to hit the ceiling less when you blip full throttle. If you fly up here, and you want to do a power loop, right into the ceiling. But it's just going to give you less time, you know what I mean? If you're up here, see how quick that was? We didn't have any time to get it up and then down and then catch ourselves. Versus, if I come in low, it gives me a little bit more time. That was a bad example of it. Low. Ugh! Sometimes I still hit the ceiling. I'm trying to be super drastic right now to show you how much hang time you can possibly get. I think the best example of that's going to be doing this little move here, nice and low. Ow, balls. Stop it! Here's the problem with flying low, is you bump into the ground a lot. Stop it! Nice and low. All that hang time. Ready? Versus, if you fly at like a normal height, not nearly as much hang time. Make sense? Fly the extremes. Fly ultra low to the ground. And then try to throw yourself all the way up to the ceiling. And that's going to give you maximum hang time. This basement is like 800 square feet. Not very big. I've worked really hard to figure out how to make this feel like a much bigger space so that I can do a lot of this shit that we usually only do outside. Whoa! That was super, like, off kilter and wacky and wild and cool. Throttle Expo. Yaw left, pitch forward, puts you into the menu. Profile. Scroll down to, I think it's in rate. You can just go down, or you can go up to go to the bottom of the second page. This is that first page. You can certainly just scroll down, but I go up to go down. And here we've got the amount of Throttle Expo, and then the midpoint. Watch the live stream about Throttle Expo. These are less powerful motors, so I only have 30 as the Throttle Expo. On the 36,000 kV motors, I have 40. On the 40,000 kV motors, I have 50. It's by feel. The midpoint has to be set perfect. The amount of Throttle Expo is on you. You have to watch that live stream where I dig into Throttle Expo to have any chance of setting it properly. It is not easy to get set perfectly. And if you don't set it perfectly, it will hurt you more than it helps you. Ah, almost got that little dive. Notice like the location of the gates in here. I have them as far apart as I can get them. Don't have your room be too busy. Especially when you're new at trying to figure this out. You want space. You want as much space as you can mixed with enough stuff that you can actually do, right? When I have like 4 or 5 more cube gates, and I've experimented putting cube gates everywhere. all that happens is you just constantly smack into stuff. You have to have a good mix of some paths to fly down, some lanes to fly down, but also enough stuff to do where it's challenging enough. Let's talk about that now. We'll talk about like lanes of travel. This is important. You're going to have certain paths that you want to be clear all the time so that you can kind of reset. Down here, it's this. This is one of them right here. This is a nice lane that I can rock into this. I've basically got like a figure 8 set up here. Main lane down the middle, under the desk. This is the figure 8. This is clear. I can always drop into this. If I've done like a big throw, I can drop into that lane. It's not super busy. It's nice and clean. I can also go out here. Have like an established sort of safe loop, or even better, figure 8. And then you're going to have other tighter areas that you can do that are, as you can see, much more difficult. When this air purifier is not here, this is the tighter path back here. With this air purifier here, it's really difficult. But you want to have some defined paths, and then you want to have some tighter paths. One of them is in through the sim rig here. You can also go through the bottom. These are the tighter gaps that you're going to shoot every once in a while. But you're going to fall in to your main lanes. And this is going to give you a little bit of time to relax and take a breath and not constantly crash. I kind of have another one here around the drum set, right? You want to have these established kind of spots. We've also got a more challenging one here because of this 90. It's hard to make this 90, so a lot of times I'll just use this like that. I've also got a really challenging little under the coffee table path here. Super difficult. This is really close to the ground. I don't do it a lot because it's super challenging. You're going to hit your main path very often. And then every 5 or 6 seconds, here comes the boy. You're going to shoot the tighter stuff. Maggie said he seemed like he was dealing with depression, so she took the thunder jacket off his little ass. And now he's a complete menace again. Hey, little buddy. He was really going for it. Let's get some cinematic Teddy footage. Oh, God, buddy! You got me. Whoa! Big tough boy. Oh, boy. Chase it, you little devil. Oh. Well, this battery's pretty much done. Oh, man, that would have been a good shot of him going after it. This battery's done. Cool. What else? We talked about low up tilt, durability, lightweight, throttle expo, fly the extremes, 6 batteries a day. Flying, let me take a little break. Flying inside the house is outrageously difficult. It is way more difficult than flying outside. I don't care how big or how powerful the rig is that you're flying outside. The gaps outside of your house are exponentially bigger than the gaps inside of your house. Inside the house, yes, we're flying a much smaller rig, but the biggest thing, realistically, that most of us fly outside is a 5-inch freestyle rig. Yes, there is a big difference. The TinyWhoop is basically the size of the propeller. But think about it this way. When you're shooting a gap, the only thing that matters is the size left to right. And if you look at the difference between these two crafts, we've got 1, 2, 3, and about a half. Well, no, 1, 2, 3, and a half. The TinyWhoop that you're flying inside your house is only 3.5 times smaller. Look at the gaps that you're shooting in the house. In the house, you're shooting gaps that are like this big. Outside the house, you're going between two trees that are 15 feet apart, right? Like sometimes outside the house, you'll shoot a gap that's like this, and that's like impossible. And so when you look at the actual like gap between the outside of the only thing that matters is how much space is from the outside of what you're flying to the actual gap. Inside the house, the gaps that we're shooting are only this big. We've only got this much space. Outside the house, like when you're flying outside, how often are you shooting a gap that's this big? Not very fucking often. You know the metal ladder dive that Steel put like 7,000 batteries into trying 2 rampages ago, and then like all these young pilots are doing on their first try. That ladder gap, that's like this big. That is a big gap compared to what we're trying to shoot with TinyWhoops, right? Look at the size of this rig. The ladder is like this wide, and then the guard is like this wide. Look at how much space you've got with a 5-inch rig to shoot that gap. Look at this. Look at this space that you've got. That's humongous. Those ladder dive gaps are almost impossible. They're so difficult to do. Everything that you do inside of the house with a TinyWhoop is a ridiculously small gap. The flying through these gates, these are ridiculously small gaps. It is super difficult to fly these things hard, fully 3-dimensionally inside the house. Always remember that. This is why 6 batteries a day is like damn near a requirement. You have to put the time in. There is no other way. Fly every single day. You can rip through 6 batteries in like 20-25 minutes. Take care. Look, like not one of us, myself included, and I work pretty hard at this, is taking care of ourselves as much as we should be. We're prioritizing family, we're prioritizing money, our jobs, we're buying shit, playing video games, all these things. Playing video games are kind of self-care time, but still, we prioritize, most of us prioritize everything before ourselves. You can take 20 minutes a day. You can take 25 minutes a day to do something that you love. And if you do that every single day, you will love it even more because you will get significantly better at it. I promise you that. Especially if you practice, not just rip. Yes, just ripping and flying as hard as you possibly can is very fun. But especially before you've gotten to the point where like you're significantly decent, we're going to go to a 300 mAh battery. It really helps. I mean, forever. It always really helps to fly a battery as practice. And this is what that looks like. Instead of like just having fun, I mean, it should still be fun, but it's going to be less fun. All right. Practicing is a little bit less fun than just blasting. And this is what that looks like. For the next 30 seconds, I'm going to practice orbiting this coffee table. And that's all I'm going to do. I want to hammer the throttle. I want to go full throttle and throw myself over it. But I'm not gonna. Because I'm practicing right now. Is that really the crash that killed this thing? No, we're good. And so, if I can get myself under control, all I'm going to do is practice flying under this coffee table. That's it. Pick something that's difficult and just do it. For 30 seconds or a minute, or even better, the entire battery. I want to power loop this coffee table so bad. But I'm practicing right now. You're going to crash, and that's your time away from it. But all I'm doing right now is practicing orbiting both directions under this coffee table and getting used to flying really low to the ground. And it could be power loops, it could be Matty flips, doesn't matter. You're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And when you do that, you'll start to notice little things about your throttle control, because you're not like thinking like, ooh, where do I want to go? What should I do next? You're just focusing on this one thing, and that is going to help you quite a bit. This right here, what I'm basically doing is practicing throttle control. This is super low to the ground. There's all kinds of weird aerodynamic shit that happens when I go under here. It is super hard to keep this thing down low and fly under this coffee table. Also, I'm adding a little bit of pitch and a little bit of roll. And when you do that, your thrust vector shifts a little bit, so you have to add throttle. These are the little things that you're going to figure out. You just resist the urge to do anything else. And you do the same thing. And you try to pick as benign of a thing as you possibly can. Right? Power loops, Matty flips, whatever. Wall rides. Pick something and do it at least 30 seconds straight. Best bet, though, is to spend a whole battery doing it. That's my absolute favorite. Going into a power loop from here accomplishes nothing. If this becomes... What the fuck? If you're losing your mind and you're like, I'm going to stop flying, this is so unfun, do a power loop. Get it out of your system. But then come right back to it. And just keep reminding yourself that you're practicing. You're getting good. And when you get good, it's going to make you fly better. And you're going to have more fun. Because again, flying inside the house is super goddamn hard. And you're going to want to do all the things that you can do outside. Right? Those are the things that are fun. It's very difficult to like not be able to do the things that you can do outside. That's a big reason that a lot of people don't fly TinyWhoops. Because they're like, nah, I can't do all the fun stuff. I can't do power loops. I can't do Matty flips. It's just like, nah, get good, scrub. You can do all those things. You just gotta work. You gotta work a little bit harder. Because you can't just fire it up into the goddamn clouds and wait 40 seconds for it to come down and then blip the throttle one time and like, oh, I did a power loop. Nah, you gotta work it. Cool? Practice. Don't just rip. Acro only. Fuck angle mode. Fuck horizon mode. For many years, I would go... I still have it. I still have horizon mode on a Switch. The reason why I originally did that is because it was too hard to do what I was just doing in acro mode. And so I would, when I flew around normally, I would flip it up into horizon or acro, or angle, and I would fly around with my little safety net, my little accelerometer on all the time, safety net. And then when I wanted to do a power loop, I would reach up and flick the switch, do the power loop, reach up, flick it back into angle mode, fly around again. Don't do that. That sucks. You are having to have two separate sets of muscle memory when you do that. One for angle mode, one for acro. Don't do it. You can do this shit with acro. You just have to fly more and have more fun. There's your excuse. If anybody is like, why do you fly those things so much? I gotta fly. I gotta get good. Ciotti said I gotta get good, so I gotta fly more to get good. It's more fun once I'm good. That excuse probably won't work, but it's worth a shot. I got a lot of hair. Flying low to the ground, you're gonna get hair in these. You don't have to get all the hair out because of the way these brushless motors work. The brushed motors, it was a nightmare. Eventually, though, the clump of hair is big enough where the motor is going to struggle to turn that clump of hair. So you do have to get the hair out of them eventually. But like individual hairs, 2 hairs, 3 hairs, you don't really have to worry about that. There we go. That's good enough. Make sure you put the hairs right back on the ground so you can pick them back up. That's important. Acro only. Throttle Expo. We talked about it. Expo in your rates, though, is a really nice little cheat code. If you're not using any Expo in your rates, you're doing it wrong. You're making your life a lot harder. I run more than most. For me, my Expo is 0.7. This is why I have so much sensitivity and I can do a lot of this stuff. Whatever your Expo is, I'm in angle mode. Whatever your Expo is right now, turn it up. Turn it up by like 0.1 or 0.2 or 0.3 even. And give yourself like 10, 15 batteries to get used to it. Look at how he was sitting. Oh, God. He was sitting super weird. The way that I can do this, I'm actually moving the stick a bunch right now. I'm moving the stick a significant amount. You could also just say, like, lower rates, because the center stick sensitivity is also important. But most people just don't run enough Expo. And their sticks are way too sensitive. Inside the house, if you want to be able to fly like this, you have to be able to move your sticks a bunch. To do this little amount of yaw right now, I've got the stick like halfway pushed over. I have so much yaw pushed in right now. And a big bunch. I'm going to move the yaw stick a bunch. That's me moving the yaw stick like almost to the endpoints. It's going to make your flying a lot smoother. And you're going to be able to move the sticks more. Basically what it's doing is it's artificially giving you more, what's the word? Resolution. Expo gives you more resolution. And for freestyle stuff inside the house, in my opinion, it's really important. You can still have the stick endpoints be 600, 700, 800, fuck it, 1,000, so that you can turn these quick flips and rolls. But there's not much of a reason to have the middle of your stick travel be so sensitive as most people. When most people hand me their rigs to fly, and I fly their rates, I'm disgusted. Because their rates are set up for like this. Like, don't do that. That is unwatchable. And inside the house, you're not going to be able to do shit. You're going to have to fly your 65mm TinyWhoop outside. And what the hell's the point of that? You can still have endpoints and maximum velocity that gives you really sharp attack. But then you can have the center of the middle of your stick travel and the center be nice and soft, so that you have some control inside the house to be able to do this stuff. So whatever your Expo is, turn it up and give yourself some time to get used to it. I don't recommend that you have a separate set of TinyWhoop rates and a separate set of outside the house rates. I think that you should run more Expo on all of your stuff. And I'm hoping that you running more Expo on your TinyWhoops will open your eyes to the magic of more Expo. Maybe don't go all the way up to 7, where I'm at, but run more Expo. Almost everyone benefits from running more Expo than they currently do. It's one of the dirty little secrets of most smooth flying pilots is loads of Expo. I stole that from Schizo back in the day. One of the big reasons that Schizo was so smooth is that he just ran tons of Expo. Especially, like, some people just have magical thumbs and magical fingers, and that's great for them. I don't. Most people don't. Most people are a little bit jittery, and Expo eats that jitter. It is made in the way that the space deserves to be flown. Upstairs is much bigger. And so if right now I'm flying the same way that I do downstairs, kind of boring, isn't it? Downstairs is much smaller, and so I fly a lot slower. That doesn't really make sense for up here. This is a bigger area. So we're going to pick up speed. We're going to fly faster. Also, upstairs has much more elevation. And so downstairs, I would do like that for a power loop. That's about an 8 foot. That was probably a little bit higher than 8 feet. But up here, I've got much more room. And so use it. Fly the extremes. Fly from wall to wall. Use the space. Scrape the ceiling. That fan is going to fucking mangle me. Use the fan. Fly the fan. Orbit the fan and match the blades. It's super cool looking. I'm not locking in on orbits tonight. But you want to fly to the space. Make sense? If you're in a big space, use it. If you're in a small space, use that. See how much faster I'm going? Works a lot better. It's really interesting, right? We got a much bigger space here. Ooh, that's going to hurt. See if I can hit one of my favorite moves. So it's going to be up here, and it's... oh, God, that fan's on. Oh, that fan almost got me. See if I can get it. Hold on. It's this really cool, like, front flip. I wonder if I'll hit Azalea. Ah, I keep hitting the railing. Try it one more time. We got this cool round Papasan chair. Orbit that bitch. Orbit round stuff. Oh, I hit the fan. Big old dive here. Yeah, that was just perfect. Holy shit. Right? Use the space. This is where a lot of the creativity comes in. It's super easy to like just do power loops and like it's super easy to do the same stuff over and over again. If you use the space and you go wall to wall, it's going to open up all these cool new things. Come up here. That fan is whipping. Big old dive down the stairs. Not really a dive, but like a corkscrew down the stairs, right? There he goes. We got a good little Teddy run on that one. Use the dog. Oh, he's pissed. He's pissed. Look at him. He's pissed. I'm going to annihilate this battery just filming this dog. He's pissed. Doggy's pissed. Teddy Spaghetti ain't taking no shit from this TinyWhoop right now. Yeah, buddy. Get it. He's protecting his dad. You're a good dog, little boy. Crotch landing. What did I forget? Gates. Practice, don't just rip. Solid camera mounting. We talked about that. Acro only. Use more Expo in your regular rates. 6 a day. Put the gates out. Change them up every once in a while. Don't just leave the gates in the same spots forever. Move them around. You'll probably find spots where the gates work really well. Jesus, look at my face. That's okay, but move one of them every so often. Try not to like move them all. Like you'll get like, you know, this basement is the perfect example of that. The dive gates in the corner are perfect there. You know, there's this big beam running across the middle, so it makes sense to like hang gates. What I've done in this basement is put like gates all the way in the corner, LED Weebleed gate pretty much all the way in the corner, couple of gates in the middle of the room. I'm trying to give myself the biggest gaps between the gates as possible. So that I can settle down in between them. If you want to do this big shit, this big off-throttle inverted stuff, you got to have a landing area. you're going to be blind. You're going to be blind on the Matty flip. I didn't do any Matty flips. But yeah, you're going to be blind, so you want to have a nice big gap that you can drop back down into, blip the throttle to get it off the ground, and like really quickly, cool, where am I going now? So have points of interest, but space them out as much as you possibly can. There you go, friends. There are about 10 or 15 tips to ripping balls inside the house. Don't try to do all those things at once. Do one of those things, give it a little bit of time. Add more Expo. Let's do an ultra lightweight rig. So that's a fairly heavy rig. We're going to go complete opposite end of the spectrum to, because I have one more 260 mAh battery, to the Newbie Drone ultralight 3.1 Hummingbird race spec. This is also a rig with a massive amount of uptilt in comparison. So you're going to notice that I fly it a lot faster. This is on a terrible canopy that the camera is not really held all that straight. So I'm going to be a lot less accurate with my flying. But this will give you an idea of what super, super, super lightweight will get you. This is all the way down at like 16 point something grams. So this will be drastic. Here we go. This rig is hard to fly. This is, the uptilt's not bad. Look how much duct is in view. Yeah, no, the uptilt's not bad. Oh, boy. This is different. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. No, don't do this. Not like this. Oh, I hit the goddamn railing. Are you kidding me? That's not recoverable, is it? Unbelievable. Oh. I'm coming. I'm gonna eat his face. As soon as the stream is over, I'm gonna cut you up into pieces and cook you. Oh! Sorry. Oh, for fuck's sake. Stop it! Don't! Don't beep! No, Azalea! Whatever, it's fine. Lightweight. See how it changes direction? Oh, no! Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Yo! See that hang time? The lightweight sacrifices durability, but man, do you get a little bit of extra hang time. It's really nice. You also get better power to weight ratio, obviously, but saving like a gram on these things doesn't really do that much to the power to weight ratio because they're making like at least 40 or 50 grams of thrust, but it does give you that extra hang time. Oh, I cut that way too tight. I will hit the insides a lot with this because it's so lightweight. I'm used to having to push the extra weight around on the 18 gram rigs. Woo. I did not need to disarm that. That was silly. I didn't need to disarm that there either. Whoo, boy. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Because that's unrecoverable, and these fucking goggles are going to start beeping again, and it's going to make me scream. Yeah. There you go, guys. Hope that helps. I'm sure that it will. These are things that I've figured out over years and thousands of batteries. Teddy, relax, buddy. Relax. I'm putting that sweater right back on you, bro. This thing is also was dragging around the 260 mAh battery, so it's like hysterically lightweight. There we go. Yeah. Fly your 6 batteries, my friends. Go have some fun. You have my permission. Anybody that gets upset, just tell them CiottiFPV said it's okay. Chris Croft says, my doggo wants to eat my whoops. Don't let him. Nick Bucas says, does flying 2S 3 times a day count for 6 batteries? Good try. Johnny Cat says, I got the 2 ORTs I picked up from your Etsy page in the mail today. Very cool. What a huge upgrade for the AIO5 from the stock antenna. Yeah, the micro V's are insane. Denzel the Trouble says, no, we talked about that. Moss1 says, what's the weight on those screamers? Talked about that. I think we're good. If I missed anything, come on back and ask me on Friday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Uriel with the last comment, and then he says, thanks, it was good content again. See ya, stay gold all. Be good, friends. See you on Friday. Fly your 6, or else. I'm not ready. Here comes some more of the fireworks flying from the beginning of the stream. Love you, bye! Whenever you're ready. There it is. See you.